Hello and welcome to the James Coolie Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Coolie. And wow, we got a very exciting show coming your way today. We got a very, very good friend of mine that's back on the show again. And I love having this young lady on the show because she brings so much inspiration, so much knowledge, and so inspiring in everything that she does. So I'm excited to have her back on the show. I'm not going to steal Michelle thunder. Not right now. I'm going to let Michelle do the intro and all that other great stuff. So I tell you what, wherever you're watching us at, whether you watch us on the E360 television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or over 65 other live streaming platforms, welcome to the show. If you want to be a part of the show, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. How you doing, Dr. Coolie? How you doing today?
I am doing great, doing great. Wow, this is interesting. I don't think we ever had a title like this before. And you know what? The title makes sense. It really does make sense. And I'm so excited to have this guest on the show. We both are so excited. And I'm going to tell you the title, folks, but
hold on. I'm so excited to have her back on. She's been on the show many, many times. Mm-hmm. And she is the catalyst behind me having my own show. So I am totally thankful and grateful for this young lady. Can you please do the honors and introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest of ours?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of today's show is love enough to sustain a relationship? So we're having a conversation with life transitions coach, grief specialist, best-selling author, keynote speaker, media host, Paula Shaw. And she's going to discuss why is love not enough to sustain your relationship, or is it? How you love, critical components necessary to love in a way that will make the relationship last, and also talk about different avenues and different parts of relationship success. So again, Paula Shaw. So more than 25 years, she's been dedicated to helping people navigate the stress of change and challenge using mind-body tools and techniques. She's a founding member of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology. She strongly believes that the tools and the methods of this field can shortcut meaningful change and help people get their lives on track and moving in the desired direction more quickly than the traditional methods. She's just launching her all-inclusive coaching program, Bridges Beyond Grief, which is a customized approach that walks each individual through the challenges of loss and change into a vibrant, satisfying life of purpose and joy. Degrees in education and communications, and she's the author of several books, including Chakras, The Magnificent Seven, Grief from This Pain Ever End, and her latest book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. Please welcome back to the show, Miss Paula Shaw.
Hello, guys. Boy, that was a mouthful, Michelle.
Paula, it's always a pleasure. I mean, I just get happy every time that Michelle, like, hey, we got Paula come back on the show. We got a call. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's always a wonderful reunion when we get to do this.
So you haven't been on the show in a while. Can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you? What are some of the things that you've been doing? And I know you got all these new projects coming up. We're going to talk about all of those.
I do. But the most important thing I've been doing is preparing for and then being mother of the bride. My daughter, Erin Shaw, got married Saturday, and it was just an incredible love fest. It was, and so I'm so excited to be talking about Is Love Enough today, because that whole day was just so permeated with love, but also with a lot of the other things we're going to talk about today that are so necessary to keep relationships in good shape.
I think it's so important, communications. Being able to talk about these type of things, because sometimes we get complacent when we are dating or we get married, and sometimes we let certain things fall to the side. It's so important to not forget and not start taking for granted. So I am so excited about this show, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's a real milestone, and you just don't know until you're in the middle of it how much emotion you're going to feel. I mean, this is your baby. This is the being that you've been involved with since conception. And suddenly she's taking a huge step that is life-changing. It truly is. And I think it was for everybody that was there. So it was a pretty amazing day. But yes, you also mentioned in my own life too, I'm about to launch a whole new emphasis in internet marketing on my work. We're calling it Bridges Beyond Grief. And basically, I'll be teaching a lot of the same principles I've always worked with, but just trying to do it in a different way, a bigger way, and reaching more people, like what you're all about here on your show.
Oh yeah, knowledge is power, and being able to reach out, especially with positive inspirational things and things that are going to help us and people around us out, meaning tragedy when we go through certain things like that, grief.
Yes.
Michelle and I had a friend had experienced grief the other day, and the first thing that came to my mind was your book. Not knowing what to say. I'm talking about, we was dumbfounded. We did not know what to say, because many of these things are so unexpected, and then it's like, wow, how can I do or say, what can I say when I don't know what to say?
Yeah. And what also makes that so hard, JC, is that not only do you feel a little like stuck with what do I say, but the other person, when they're in pain, they don't receive information the way they normally would. And I think the biggest mistake people make is trying to say something that makes sense intellectually, like You'll be okay. There'll come a day when you'll feel good again. Well, when somebody's in an emotional state, which you certainly are when you're grieving, the left brain, which is the intellectual, linear thinking part of the brain, it's not on track. It's not working. Only this emotional right brain is really in charge. And so that what ends up happening is they're not processing whatever you say in the same way. And they don't know how to even respond to you. So the conversation can become very difficult. That's why I wrote that book, because I think if you understand those basic things, then you can just say something as simple as, my heart is breaking for you, or I can't imagine how difficult this is, or, oh, I ache for you. Simple things like that. No solution there. And the problem is everybody tries to offer solution to somebody who's not ready for solution. All they want is comfort.
And you know what? And I know that's not the topic of the show, but I just want to also add, Paula, is that, when someone's going through grief, they don't want to hear any positive things because they could be angry.
Yeah.
I mean, saying things, even though you mean well, you're going to get through this, they're in a better place. Nobody wants to hear that. I'm
You're
sorry.
so right, Michelle. Right on point. They can't receive it because they don't see anything positive in their experience in that moment.
Exactly.
You're right. It's a huge problem.
So why don't people think about certain things like what you just mentioned? When a friend experienced tragedy, some people feel that they have to say, I gotta say something, and make the situation worse.
Because the truth is, most people are well-intentioned. They want to say something to make you feel better, but you're not really ready to feel better most of the time. And what people don't realize is you have to be careful, because if you say something like, well, I know you're really upset, but it's going to get better, that's almost like setting an expectation for them. And then the next day, if they don't feel better, and the next day, if they don't feel better, they start feeling defective, or like somehow they're getting it wrong. And that doesn't help. But to just say something like, oh, this is such a tragedy. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I can't imagine how tough this is. You see, that doesn't imply any expectation. That's not saying that what they're doing is wrong, because there is no right or wrong way to grieve. There's just whatever you're experiencing in that moment.
And you're absolutely right. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but we're going to switch the topic and talk about why you chose this topic today. And I know Michelle is so excited about the topic, and I am too. But I tell you, we're going to take a station break.
Okay.
But when we come back, we're going to pick it up, and we're going to talk to Paula Shaw, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of other different things. So if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Yes, your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Talking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of need.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Coolie Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Coolie on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Coolie Show. It's Your Life. And just like I said, this young lady right here, young lady, I mean, just so brilliant, so smart, and understands a lot of things and doing great things for a lot of people. So we're going to talk about this topic because I got to. I got to find out why you chose this topic today. And I am getting ready to get locked in on this. And I know Michelle, just like I said, is excited. And you can be excited as well. If you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform that you're watching this on, oh yeah, go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Yes, your life. Hey, Paul. So you chose this topic, is love enough to sustain your relationship? Can you please tell our viewers and our listeners why you chose this topic? And then we're going to pick your brain because this is something that Michelle and I and everybody else that's in love want to stay there. And we want to make sure that we're doing the things that's going to sustain that. So tell us why you chose that topic.
Well, I'm going to be totally honest. It was a little bit of plagiarizing. I saw a video on TikTok, and the title of it was "The Sad Truth Is That Love Will Never Be Enough to Save Your Relationship." And I thought, whoa, that's an interesting title. And I watched the video several times and I ended up transcribing it, which I don't usually have time to do anything like that. But I love the message. Now, this guy presents it in kind of, you know how they are sometimes in those videos. It's very bold. The sad truth is love will never be enough to save your relationship. But the thing he said initially that I thought was pretty interesting, he said, anyone with a pulse and a brain can fall in love, but not everyone can sustain that relationship. And then he talked about better questions than are you in love are things like, do you respect your partner? Do you value your partner? Do you work things out when there are problems? So then you get into those components that really make the difference as to whether the relationship is harmonious, whether it's a fun place to be, or whether you're just marking time together. So that's what really got me excited about, is love enough? Because the truth is, I mean, we all know love's the most important thing in the universe. And love has to be the cornerstone of any relationship. But all by itself, it isn't necessarily the be all and end all. Does that make sense,
It
JC?
makes sense. It makes sense. And you know where I'm at on this one is love. I mean, a lot of people think that it's enough. And just like I mentioned earlier, it's certain things that once we enter a relationship that we have to continue to do because that's what we enter the relationship on. Being the best person, being the best, whatever that is,
Yeah.
that causes you to fall in love with that person.
Yeah.
And then many times we get there and we want to pull back out. Stop
Yeah.
doing these things. Stop caring. Stop. I mean, all of these, I wouldn't say caring, but we don't care as emotional or physically as we did before.
Mhm.
And like, well, she loved me or he loved me. I don't have to do all that. So we stop far as taking care of ourselves. We gain weight, 400 pounds, whatever that is. Can you talk about some of those things a little bit?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that this weekend my daughter got married, and it was a very different wedding. Of course, they had written their own vows, but their vows were more like telling the story of why they fell in love with the other. And one of the things the officiate had them do was declare their self-love. And when do you ever hear that in a marriage or in a wedding ceremony? Declare and acknowledge that something that's really important to them is self-love. And I think that's huge because self-love has to be part of the package. If you're leaning on somebody else to complete you or to give you a reason to like yourself, that's not going to be a very strong, stable relationship. You have to be whole and complete on your own and really like who you are. And you bring that to the relationship. Now you got something very cool that you can work with.
That's why those movies say, "Oh, you complete me." Well, you're right. You're supposed to be complete by yourself and not rely on
Yeah,
somebody else because
ideally, right?
really, but I love that. I love that. So, do you believe that people who it doesn't even matter if you're married or not, they have maybe a fairy tale image on even though love is there, but how to make a relationship work, like everything's going to be beautiful and roses all the time?
Yes. Yes. As a therapist, I I can tell you, and even in my own life, in my own relationships, there are times when you just need some professional help. You just need somebody who knows a little more about this particular thing than you do, or who's looking from an objective perspective to talk to you about how to do things, how to self soothe, how to maybe take time to breathe and come back to a more normal state once you get triggered, because we're human beings. This kind of stuff happens. There's no way, I don't care who you fall in love with or who you're with, nobody was raised exactly the same way you were. Even your own brothers and sisters don't have the exact same experience of growing up that you do, because it's a lot dependent on how we perceive what's happening to us. So the idea that just because we fall in love with somebody, we now know how to have intimate conversations. We now know how to express our anger. We now know what to do when we get triggered. We don't just naturally know all of that. Sometimes we have to do the work, whether it's reading books, going to therapy, talking with counselors or other wise people, maybe even your minister. You,
Mhm.
you have to get the perspective of others to get some new ideas how to handle these things you're feeling.
And Paula, do you agree? And what is your opinion on this? First of all, everyone was raised by different families.
Yeah.
Um, some single parent households, some the parents are together, but maybe the relationship wasn't strong. I mean, you
Right.
just never know how people are raised.
Right.
So everyone, I believe, may have the capacity to love, but maybe the way they express it to their partner
Yes.
is not, I would say, maybe not be conducive to the relationship. So do you
Hmm.
believe those two people have to figure out, even though they're in love, what works for them? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, Michelle. Again, spot on. Because like I was just saying, because I like you, or because I'm in love with you, or I have fun with you, I enjoy my time with you, doesn't mean I know how to navigate every situation with you. And you're so absolutely right. Let's say I'm in love with someone, and in his family, when people got upset, they yelled it, they screamed it out, they got it all out. And maybe in my family, we were taught to take a deep breath, calm down, and now enter into a civil conversation. How are those two styles going to match in a relationship? Not very well. It's one of the things I talk about in my book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. You have to take into account that people were raised with different beliefs about the correct way or the right or wrong way to do things or to have communication and conversation.
And it's interesting. You have two people. It could be a friend relationship. It could be a romantic
Right?
relationship where maybe they think the way you were raised is strange and vice
Yes.
versa. So demanding that your partner adhere to how you would raise your
Mhm.
standards,
Mhm.
how can that just cause so much problems? It's not your way may not be right. My way might not be right. How do we figure out our way?
And that's the importance of finding that middle ground. Everybody being willing to cooperate, oh darn, I can't think of the word when everybody gives a little. JC, what's that word? When you give a little, I give a little, we negotiate, we
I hate to utilize compromise. The word
compromise. Thank you. That's the one I was looking for, actually. Yeah. If you're not willing to compromise, if it has to be your way or the highway, you pretty much can plan on the fact you're going to be on the highway or somebody is, because that relationship is not going to work. Everybody has to be willing to give a little and to find the middle ground where you can work through things. In fact, one of my favorite songs is that old Dave Mason song where he says, there ain't, so let's leave it alone because we can't see eye to eye. There ain't no good guy. There ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me, and we just disagree. That's such a brilliant line, I think, because sometimes that's really the best you can do. If somebody feels really strongly one way and somebody feels really strongly the other way, then you just have to agree to disagree. And the other line that I love is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And it's not always the same place.
I love how you just put that because many times we have to agree to disagree and to
Yes.
maintain a certain sense of sanity for us in oneself. And if we just get mad and it had to be my way all the time, like Michelle, it had to be her way all the time. But if
Don't listen to him, Paula.
Honey, I know you way too well to buy any of that.
no, but we have to be able to set aside differences at that moment.
Yes.
Maybe come back and talk about it later, When we're rationalizing, we have time to sit back and digest and think. But I think that's so important
Can
in
I
main.
say one more thing about what you just said, JC, that's so important? When you remember, there's a part of your brain called the amygdala, and it's like a searchlight, always going, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And when something feels threatening to you, the amygdala goes, sounds off the alarms, and the blood gets shunted from your frontal cortex, which is the thinking part of the brain, back to the amygdala so it can fire up. And that's your fight, flight, or freeze part of the brain. That's why we need time to soothe, to just sort of come back to neutral when we get highly triggered, because the amygdala is often running. And that's not the thinking part of your brain.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This conversation is so needed. And our viewers and our listeners out there around the world, they're getting the understanding that just because the word love, just because you lock in the word love, or you think that you are in love or whatever, it requires work, and you have to continue. I'm talking about both partners have to equally, first of all, believe in love, and secondly, have to work on it, because things change over a period of time. Love should not change. But we're going to take a station break. But we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up, because we got a lot more of Paula Shaw. And if you want to be part of this great conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching this on, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
For granted, now I know that it has
Wow. We're back with my absolutely fantastic guest, Paula Shaw. And I'm playing a little music right now because I'm inspired, I'm excited. And we're going to talk about this thing on how do you love? How do you love? Uh, what are some of the things that are important in a relationship that we must constantly maintain? And I give example, uh, Paula, Michelle, and I. Very seldom do we ever have an argument or disagreement, right? But but we do because
Mhm.
she and I and me.
Yeah.
And but one thing that we always keep in mind, this thing called respect,
Mhm.
uh, this thing called honesty, integrity, and ethics,
Mhm.
and allowing her or she allow me to say what's on my mind at the moment, respectfully,
Right.
for us to be able to sit back and consider on a path forward to continue to share our love and stay in love and
Mhm.
expand our love.
Mhm.
Can you tell our viewers and listeners why it's important that you have that open dialogue, that open relationship
Oh,
in the
yes. And first, I want to say the um, in the station break, some of the things that you flashed that were there about your relationship with Michelle and things that are important were so spot on. And one of them that really grabbed my attention that I think is so important is friendship. It has to be more than just lovers. You have to be friends. And think about how you treat your friends. If you have a disagreement, you don't start yelling and screaming and saying terrible things to them or insulting their looks or their character. These are the destructive kinds of things people do when they're upset with their partner. And remember, you may make up, but that person may never forget the words you used or the things you said during that argument. So I love what you were saying, JC. There's got to be an underlying element of respect, of kindness. Dare I use the word kindness? We need to be kind to each other, whether we're upset or not, because this is the person you love, whether they're your friend, your colleague, your child, or your husband, your wife, your lover, whoever that is. This is the person more than anybody else out there you should extend kindness and patience and respect to. It's so important.
It's so important, and it's also important because you spend hopefully the majority of your day 24/7 with that person, and that person knows pretty much everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
They know when you have a mood change. They
Exactly.
know when you might be acting different a little bit or whatever that is. And they are the ones that's going to bring those things out.
Yes.
And most of the time, when somebody brings something out about you, per se, you want to be offensive. You want to, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. But they know you. They,
Absolutely.
they know you. And it's so important to not react when they're
Yeah.
bringing something up like, hey, well, you're acting a little bit different today. Can you tell me what's on your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Etc. So it's important that we understand in a relationship. I believe, especially when we're talking about is love enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's a couple of things. I'm sorry.
Nope, I'm sorry. I was interrupting you, but I just wanted to pause for a moment. And you used a very important word. You react. Ideally, we want to respond to the people we love, not react. React implies we're out of control, or there's anger involved, or I'm going to make a point because I'm right and you're wrong. So respond, don't react. Okay.
I call, and I was getting ready to make a point. I mentioned react, and you mentioned the word respond, which is great, but there is only two words that got the same exact alphabets. I'm talking about spelling for the words.
Uh-huh.
That means totally two opposite things. Do you know what? I'm just asking. Do you know what those two words might be?
I don't, but I'm dying to know. I'm
Okay,
on the edge of my seat.
so you mentioned respond, right?
Yep.
And I mentioned react. So the words that has two completely opposite meaning of each other is create and react. Create is where the response comes from. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they got
Yes.
the same letters in it, but mean two opposite things. That's what the CREATE or
Mhm.
REAC. I mean, but so the response comes from the create, because create gives you an opportunity to think about what you're going to say or what you're going to do. That split
Mhm.
seconds,
Mhm.
opposed to reacting, swinging, and cussing, whatever that might mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that keeps, in my mind, in my opinion, that's respect.
Yeah.
Because you could react and do several things that's going to make the situation worse, or you can create and think about it
Mhm.
for a split second and say, okay, maybe I overreacted. Maybe I did this, or maybe I did that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely correct, JC. And, you know, people, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm so triggered right now. I don't think I can have an intelligent conversation. I'm going to go cool off. Take a walk, hit a punching bag, jump on your bike, do whatever you need to do to normalize and neutralize your system. Because when that amygdala fires up, when the brain feels attacked, there are chemicals that are released. Your adrenaline levels may be way up. There may be chemicals that are not helping you to function in a nice, responsive, creative way. So take some time, go breathe and calm down, and think before you speak, because it's not easy to do that when you are in the right brain and you're just coming from emotion. So I love the point you're making, JC, because you gotta come from that more neutral place in order to be creative and responsive rather than reacting.
Wow, that's definitely. And I'm getting ready to take a break in a minute or so, but Paula, we talked about, people raised differently, how they express their self differently. Can you give advice on basically relationship success? So we can start off with the first one on having relationship success. And
Woo!
let's start with, we got so many. Let's start with safety. And we already talked about respect. Let's talk about safety.
Safety's huge. Safety is so huge. If you live in fear that if you displease your partner, they're going to start screaming at you or they're going to say terrible, hurtful things, you're not safe to be your full self. You're not safe to engage in life fully. So I believe safety, boy, that's one of the cornerstones for sure. If you don't feel safe, you cannot thrive and grow in that situation.
And there's a difference between like say you bring up a topic and you kind of know how your partner is going to react, but you feel so safe that you know you can bring it up and you may have that reaction, but it's nothing negative. Does that make sense?
Totally. Absolutely. And that is very possible. You know, like that's one of the things I really admire between my daughter and her now new husband. They did a lot of therapy together and they worked on finding these successful ways to communicate when things were going off, you know, when somebody was triggered. Because it's so easy to hang with your partner and talk when you're laughing and everything's smooth and lovely. But it's when the differences between you, and they're inevitable, as we have said, because you did not grow up as the same person, when those differences come up, how are you handling it then? How are you speaking to your partner then?
Wow. You know, this is incredible. We're going to take a station break because we got to pay the bills. But we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up even more from this point right here. Because Paula Shaw, she's incredible. You already see that. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this topic a lot more. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do, go to the platform that you're watching this on. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer because it's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break. Dr. James J.C. Coolie from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be on it, to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z, and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection.
You know, we live in a world today that people don't even care about how people see them. Don't realize that we can affect an entire generation and build our character. But you gotta do it with these 4 C's. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. It's the 4 C's. It's the 4 C's. In life you are gonna grow, but there's things in this world that you gotta know. To be the best that you can be, you wanna grow real big into a strong tree. To be who you were created to be, the one who's gonna leave a legacy is you. But you got to have these 4 C's. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence.
I tell you, just having this great conversation with Paula Shaw, and the relationship is love enough to sustain your relationship, and I don't believe it is. I believe that there are certain things that we have to make sure that we add and continue to do.
Mhm.
And Paula she always bring it. And I'm hoping that, Paula, that we are getting ready to go syndicated again, starting the 24th of
Mhm.
June, where we will be on Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, including KCBQ AM 1170, Answer FM 96.1, and over 55 live platforms. And you know that Michelle and I gotta have you back in there. And plus, you got some things that you got going on. We want to help you promote it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love you guys so much.
We love you too, Paula.
And we
And this topic that you chose today, and I'm gonna turn it over to Michelle. This was a much needed talk. I did not know where we was going with this because I know most of the time we're talking grief, we talk this, we talk that.
Yeah.
This is just as important, or maybe even more important, than a lot of things that we have talked about in the past.
Oh, I think so for sure. And a couple of the things we have not yet touched on that I don't want to forget is the importance of trust. Because if you don't trust your partner,
Mhm.
jealousy is going to destroy the relationship, or suspicions or fears. You can't thrive when there isn't trust. Laughter. One of the things I love about you and James, Michelle, is that you two are laughing all the time. And I think that is huge. It's absolutely huge because laughter helps us transcend all the tough parts of life and all the mundane stuff. Laughter kind of takes us to that whole other level. And one other thing I think we should touch on is forgiveness. Because when those disputes come up, and we find a place of resolution, there has to also be forgiveness involved so we can put it aside and go forward joyfully. Without forgiveness, we can't do that.
And Paula, how important it is. I mean, yes, we're human beings. We have a brain. We remember things that people have said, have done. You're right.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is important, but how important is it not to bring up things that you already settled from the past and bring them up again?
Oh, I love that question, Michelle. I love that one. I have been in relationships in the past where it was like that person was a dog who kept digging up the same old bone and bringing it back in again. And you're right. It does nothing positive for the relationship because then you just start feeling hopeless like, oh my God, I will be dealing with this for the rest of my life. Yeah, you're so right. Boy, once you get it settled, move on, go forward, or you end up like a hamster on a wheel, right? You just keep going and going and going, and you always end up in the same place.
Oh my gosh. What about vulnerability and appreciation?
Oh, super important too. Yeah, if I can't be vulnerable, if I can't own my pain or my wounds or my weakness, then how do I really open up and talk about me, who I am, what I feel, what I think? So, vulnerability is huge. And appreciation, oh my gosh, if your partner or your friend or your child, whoever it is, if they don't feel appreciated, they're missing a huge piece of what makes them feel safe and warm and happy in a relationship. To feel appreciated is a lovely feeling, and it makes you want to do more, doesn't it? If you give and you do for somebody and they don't even acknowledge it, do you want to run out and find some more cool things to do for them? Probably not.
We got a couple of minutes left, but how important it is to say, I'm sorry. But you gotta. But isn't it important to say you're sorry when not to pacify a person?
Yeah.
Also, you think about whatever's going on and you realize, wow, I was in the wrong. I'm going to say I'm sorry, not just to get it over with, but I am really sorry because I was the one who was wrong.
Yes. Let's face it, when we love somebody or when we get into relationship with somebody because we love them, we don't want to hurt them. That's not our initial intent. We don't want to make them upset or sad or miserable. And so I'm sorry should flow so easily, because what you're really saying is, oh, that wasn't my intention to hurt you. I want to be kind and loving to you, but I blew it in that moment, or I did this thing. And I'm acknowledging now that I did it and how it hurt you. And I am sorry for that. One of the worst things people do is go, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. How good does that make you feel?
It's not an apology.
No.
Or like, okay, to make you feel better, I'm sorry. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Throwaway lines. And I mean, we should throw them away, right? Because they're not doing anything positive for anybody in the situation.
Wow.
I want to ask you a question. I know we got like a minute or two left, but Paula, everyone has a different perspective, whether it's a friendship or relationship. Like you said, but like a minute ago, someone might have said something to you that you were offended, but their intent was not to offend you. How important is it to understand that your partner has a different perspective about what you might have said or commented on, even if you may not understand, but you listen and hear that person out and say, okay, I may not understand, but I'm sorry that's not what's my intent. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Totally. And I think the underlying message here, Michelle, is, or the theme of what should exist between those two people is, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. So yeah, what you said didn't sit well with me, or yeah, what I did wasn't helpful. And I regret that. I'm sorry for that. But we are on the same team. We're not adversaries. We are not in this relationship to prove that you're wrong and I'm right, or vice versa.
We're on the same team. We're on the same. Hey, Paula. So we're down like last 30 seconds. How can people reach out to you, get your services? You do so many things. How can they enrich your services?
Thank you. You can find me on Google. You can go to paulashaw.com, and I do offer a 20-minute complimentary consultation if you're considering whether or not you need to do some work or want to do some work, or if I'm the right fit for you. So going to paulashaw.com is the best place, and that's where you'll find all the information how to reach me.
Well, hey, Paul, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. You know, we got to have you back again real soon.
Oh, I hope so. I love you guys, and I love being with you. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for taking the time. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Coolie for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Coolie Show. It's like Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Right now, 24th, we go 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, live, every day you can call in. I tell you what, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your life. We'll see you then.